Joining us this morning, we've got Rukshan Jayewardene, who's going to be talking to us about elephants in captivity. Just to talk a bit more about Rukshan Jayewardene and to introduce him.
So, Rukshan Jayewardene is actually an archaeologist by training and profession, but is a renowned conservationist and photographer. And if you haven't heard of him already, then where have you been, right? But without further ado, we're talking to Rukshan Jayewardene about the current situation with captive elephants in Sri Lanka. Rukshan, hi, good morning.
Good morning, Tracy.
Lovely to have you with us, and thank you so much for taking the time. Now,
my pleasure.
What is your take on this whole situation that's developing with these 14 elephants that are in, there's a lot of controversy surrounding them. What is your sort of opinion and expert take on it?
Well, all these elephants are elephants that were captured from the wild illegally, some from national parks, some from other protected areas, and some from wilderness that we don't specifically know.
Mm-hmm.
And subsequently, they were seized by the Department of Wildlife Conservation, who is the actual legal guardian of all elephants wherever they live.
Right.
And cases were filed against some of the people involved in this, basically elephant kidnapping, baby elephant kidnapping, smuggling racket.
Mm-hmm.
It's really a mafia ring that's operating.
Yeah.
And so some of these cases were recently set aside, and there was a court ruling, court order, releasing these elephants in government custody back to
their captors.
As far as the court goes, alleged
owners, apparently.
Yeah, thieves or smugglers or whatever.
Yeah.
Actually, all the owners are not necessarily elephant kidnappers and smugglers,
Yeah.
but they were nevertheless owners of illegal elephants. And elephants are public property under the Public Property Act.
Mm-hmm.
So it's actually an unbailable offense to own elephant illegally, or to say nothing of actually capturing one from the wild.
Right. And before we get into the legal side of things, I just want to ask now, how are these baby elephants captured? I mean, what happens? Because presumably they're traveling around in herds. And, do you have an idea of how these poachers obtain the babies?
Yeah, well, they are extremely well protected within their herd structure. They live in small family groups with a matriarch in charge, with related females who are considered the aunts of any baby.
Yeah.
Unless, even if when the baby is the matriarch's baby, he has other adult females who will protect her.
Right.
The thing is that there is no possibility of capturing a baby elephant that wanders away from the herd or something and is unprotected.
Right.
Not at the ages that these babies were captured. So it necessarily means that you have to chase away the herd, isolate the baby, and grab the baby.
Goodness.
But that is also not you can't chase away elephants like you chase flies or something.
Absolutely.
The guardians aren't just going to walk away,
Absolutely. They will defend their young, and they will fight to defend their young, and they are formidable animals, as you know.
Yes.
So if you're a few people on foot, there's no way that the elephant is going to back down when their babies are threatened. So invariably, these mothers are killed and were killed. And there was evidence for it. There were carcasses that have been found subsequently that can be linked to this kidnapping trade. And, understanding the social structure and the psychology of elephants the way we do now, we are convinced that many mothers died defending their young.
Oh, that's just so sad.
That is so heartbreaking. And Rukshan, something else I want to talk about is something that's happening now with this new decree that's allowing some of these elephants that should be wild, they're being sent back to these alleged owners. And people are willing to pay as much as $200,000 in this article for these captured elephants. Now, with this new change in the regulations, but how do you see this furthering trafficking? Are we going to see a huge surge in that? Once these 14 elephants this is one case, but what is this being the precedent for? Is it going to get a lot worse?
Yeah, well, certainly it's giving a green light to smugglers and people who came into the possession of baby elephants. However, that happened because some were gifted to them because they were in strategic positions to influence the smooth function of this illegal operation. And some were bought at exorbitant prices from the smugglers who sell them priced like luxury vehicles. Mm-hmm. So we are not talking a few 100,000 rupees. We are talking about a few million rupees.
Millions and millions. And it's so
it's a business. At the end of it, it's a business, and there are various. Smugglers can't give any excuses for smuggling and stealing elephants from the wild, but people who were in possession, who alleged that they didn't know that they were illegal, which is also impossible because then you are not living in Sri Lanka, you're living in another country.
Yeah.
Because Sri Lanka's laws have been always very clear about who owns and how you can possess an elephant. You need a permit for it. And it's always on loan from the government of Sri Lanka. It's no one anywhere in Sri Lanka owns any elephants other than the government. But they too are custodial, and you and I, the people of Sri Lanka, own the elephants of Sri Lanka, if you can even call that ownership.
Yeah.
It is our heritage. So,
on that note, in terms of calling it our heritage, so what is your response to people who say, well, there are some families who have owned elephants for generations upon generations, and elephants are a cultural symbol. We need them in our peraharas, things like that, because, that's part of a religion and tradition and culture. What is your answer to people who are saying things like that?
Well, they used to be owned mostly by traditionally elephant-owning families who also had a tradition of understanding how to look after elephants, but still it is a more or less medieval methods that were being used. And there is a component of cruelty that is quite unacceptable in today's world. Yeah. Because for one, we are, let's say, our ethical, moral standards for the way we look after animals, even livestock, has changed, and a lot of it is under review. Yeah. But from another angle, traditional elephant-owning families are few and far between now. Hardly any of them own elephants. The elephant owners organization is dominated by the crooks of the elephant smuggling racket, right? And they are, some of them, very prominent people in this land. Right. So they really have two faces, and the justification saying that they need elephants, they're not trying to justify elephant smuggling. Like I told you, that can't be justified. So they deny that. But they say there is a need for elephants for cultural activities and pageants in the Perahara. Yes. But they are not willing to do the minimum that is needed to look have after that kind of captive population that is sustainable. So they'd rather take them from the wild and kind of launder them into something legal. It's terrible that they are just being reduced to the state of a commodity, isn't it? I mean, these are sentient beings. We know for a fact that they're intelligent, they remember so much, and, they... in terms of their sentience, there's a lot we can talk about, and it's just very, very sad to see them being reduced to being a commodity.
It's heartbreaking that crooks have kind of established a business, and now with the change in the law, that kind of allows them to carry on doing what they've been doing. Now, Rukshan, the big question, thank you so much for your time today. Before you go,
Just
please go ahead.
That's a slight misunderstanding. Nobody is changing the law. The law is being manipulated and bent to allow something illegal to become quasi-legal.
Right.
So it is being challenged. Today, there is a case being heard, which was filed just 2 days ago. It's a writ application.
Right.
And the Attorney General, the IGP, 2 magistrates, and the CID are all among the respondents. So you can see the depth of this problem.
Right.
And also it means that if this kind of activity becomes legal or is not legally challenged, then yours and mine and our rights are also, and the rule of law, everything is under threat.
It's setting a precedent for a lot of
Absolutely.
shady, scary stuff to happen.
How would you call on the public? Awareness is one thing. But how can they call on the legislators and, those in power to maybe not just reverse, but maybe, stop this from happening?
What can we do? How can we put pressure on the wrongdoers?
Well, this is what you're doing now is very good because you're getting this out, the story out to a wider public, and it is awareness raising. But I think all Sri Lankans need to be conscious of what is going on with elephants, with wild elephants, with captive elephants, and what's happening in the courts regarding that. And I think things are also going to come up in Parliament. So this is actually quite a national issue.
Yeah.
So it might seem peripheral to some people, and some people would definitely want this peripheral and remote from the consciousness of the public.
Yeah.
I think it's every Sri Lankan's duty
Certainly.
to stand up and be heard.
Yeah.
In whatever way they can.
I really like
your
that.
opinion, because like I told you, public property.
Yeah.
It's ours.
So
Rukshan.
we all share a kind of responsibility for these animals. I really like that you brought that up.
You've been,
Constitutional responsibility.
yes.
Okay.
Listen, I'm sure we're going to reach out to you in the future. And this is a pressing thing. All Sri Lankans waking up. It's something we all care about.
Yeah.
But Rukshan, thank you so much for your time, and we will be in touch. Appreciate it.
Okay.
And thank you for joining us.
Okay.
right.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Take
you so
care.
much
for
Have a
having me.
good day.
Take care.